Hey everybody, welcome back to Bird Nest Farms. This is week 5 of our 2022 beekeeping series. So in this week, just like our previous weeks, we're going to want to check our hives to make sure we've got plenty of space for the bees to grow. We also want to check on our pest pressure. Something I'm a little bit concerned about is, as you can see, it's getting a lot hotter right now. I'm already sweating just setting up the camera and getting everything ready to start work out here. So what I anticipate is that the hive beetles will we'll start seeing a little bit more of those. So maybe this week or next week we'll start adding some of our beetle barns and things like that to stay ahead of the hive beetles. And also we want to check to make sure that we have eggs in our colonies, make sure that our queens are laying still, we don't have any issues. And then the extra thing this week is we really want to make sure that we check that Supersedure cell in one of our production colonies. So I mentioned it to you guys last week that we had a Supersedure cell, and we would kind of just film that and track that progress and see how it goes. So if this video is entertaining to you, please consider hitting the like button. As long as it's entertaining to you and fun for us, we'll keep making them. Also, I've started trying to add the timestamps in there. So if you want to see something in particular, like if we see a queen today, I'll mark that in there. Depending on which hive we're looking at, I'll kind of add that in there too. So that allows you to kind of jump around between in the video if there's something that is particularly interesting to you. So again, thanks for watching the video. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, we're over at Michael's hive. We remember, right, Michael's hive looked really good last week. It's got a really good queen. It's really hot today, and you can actually hear the bees fanning, trying to keep the hive cool. As soon as I'm done with this one, I'll try to get a video of that. Now that it's getting a little bit warmer, we've got to be a little bit more conscious of the hive beetles. So it looks like they're filling these frames out. I think I showed you that last week, where they're beginning to fill out this deep. So let's jump on into the hive and see. Looks like we got some burrcomb here. They're definitely filling it all the way out. All these frames out all the way across. Okay, so this frame's got a lot of bee bread on this side, and it's filled with honey on the other side. Move these guys out of the way. Jump on in to the center. See if we can find the brood frames. Okay, so I see eggs down here on the bottom of the cell. There's bee bread mixed in at the very bottom. This side is mostly capped brood and some larvae on the bottom. Let's see if I can get a shot of the eggs at the bottom. May have to turn the camera angle for the sunlight. I'm seeing some queen cups on this side. Doesn't look like there's anything in them. And down at the bottom you can see the bee bread they're creating. A few capped, some cap brood there as well. I'll show you the other side. So the other side is mostly capped brood here, and there's some larvae on the open cells. So that's what we needed to see on this hive. We wanted to see some eggs. Wanted to check the spacing. There's still plenty of space in the top deep. And then we just want to start keeping an eye out for different pests. So we'll probably start installing the beetle barns here pretty soon, just to stay ahead of the hive beetles. So I can get a little bit of burr comb on the outside here as well. So we'll need to clean that up. But anyway, so this hive's looking good. I'll put it all back together and we'll move on to the next one. So like I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's really hot out here today. And the bees are fanning pretty hard at the entrance here. It's actually pretty interesting to hear. I hope the sound can get picked up by the microphone, but you can see in there there's quite a bit of them at the entrance fanning. Try to keep this hive cool. What we'll likely do here next week is switch these solid bottom boards out for a screen bottom board, and that'll help them not have to work so hard to keep these hives cool. Alright guys, this is Alexander's hive. I was watching some of the other YouTube videos from other YouTubers that do videos on bees, and what I noticed, or what one of them mentioned, is not to smoke the entrance on a colony. That's something I do probably 75% of the time, is actually smoke the entrance. So I'm going to try not to smoke the entrance and see what kind of effects that has. The reason given for not smoking the entrance was that it kind of causes the queen to kind of run around, and if she's a new queen or her pheromones aren't particularly strong, the bees might attack her and ball her and kill her. So I'm going to attempt not to do that from here on out, just to see what kind of difference it makes. But it's pretty cool. These bees are actually outside the hive cleaning, and they will do this from time to time. Let me get a shot of that. So if you see, they're actually at the entrance cleaning the hive. You ever see bees doing this? That's exactly what they're doing. So they're all collectively getting together and cleaning the landing board here. Sometimes you'll see them kind of running up the side doing the same. But for right now, they're just cleaning on the outside. They're very clean insects. So it's a really cool thing to capture. Anyway, let me put you back up and let's jump on to Alexander's hive. All right, let's jump back in it. See what Alexander's hive is looking like. Not seeing any hive beetles, or I see very little black ants. I'm not seeing anything that they've started working on up here in this top deep. So they're still must be working only down here in the bottom deep. All right, let's see here. Also, it's a good practice to just kind of leave your smoker not near the entrance, because it just continues to smoke even if we don't pull on the bellows. Just keeps the smoke away from the entrance. So they haven't filled out this last frame yet. We jump on to the center here. Okay, in this frame I see a lot of cat brood and eggs down at the bottom. This side's pretty much the same story. On the top there's honey, and then there's cat brood. On the very bottom there's very young larvae. So you can see on this frame there's young larvae on the ends there, honey over here, capped brood all in the center, and as you kind of go out to the bottom, you can see that there are very young larvae, and I see an egg at the bottom. So that's really all we wanted to see here. We can put this one back. They got plenty of room to grow. Looks like they're doing really well. I don't see any burr comb or cross comb in here at all. So I'm going to put these guys back, and then we'll move on to the next hive. Alright, so this is Brianna's hive. Brianna's hive was looking really good last week. So let's jump on into Brianna's hive and see how things are looking this week. So I'm looking into the deep here, and I'm seeing that they're kind of starting to draw out this frame here. But everything else looks like they're not really touching this top box very well, or yet anyway. So let me pull this one off. We'll jump into the bottom box. So a little bit of burr comb. Not bad. They're definitely using all of the frames here. Okay, this is totally full of honey on both sides here. Let's jump on down to the brood frame and see what it's looking like this week. Okay, so I'm seeing a frame of capped brood. As you kind of go out to the ends, I'm seeing some young larvae, eggs in the top right hand corner here. Same on the other side. Honey in the very top corners. Bee bread, and then capped brood. Where there's no capped brood, there's young larvae and eggs. So in here you can see at the very top, there's bee bread. Over in the corners here, there's your honey. And then down on the very bottom of the cells, there's eggs there. So I don't know that the lighting is in our favor today, but that's what I'm seeing. Hope the camera can pick it up. Looking down as I put this one back in, the other frame is full of brood, capped brood, so this hive is doing really well. Looks like they've got plenty of resources. Very calm today. I guess because I waited kind of later in the day to check them today, and they all seem to be busy in the field. Saw a lot of pollen coming in this morning. So let me put this one back together and we'll jump on to the next hive. So I'm over at one of our honey production colonies, and I really just wanted to take a second to talk about the difference between the deeps, which is what you see here, and the supers, what you see here. So the deeps is where we give the bees their resources, so they'll have their brood box, their honey, their bee bread, etc. And then these honey supers, this is the honey that we harvest every year. So I was just checking these to make sure that, so this one's full and this one is the one that they're working on. So I just wanted to make sure they had enough room in this one just to stay ahead of the bees. And it looks like they've got these sort of built out, and these here in the center seem to be pretty full of honey. So let me just show you real quick what that looks like. You'll notice that the frame itself is much smaller. So you can see how short that frame is. And you can see what they'll do is they'll pack it out with honey all the way across. See how they're starting to cap this one. So they've got the nectar in there in these cells, and they'll start to dry it out. And once it gets to the right Um, when it's dry enough for them, I'm trying to think of the term, but when it's dry enough for them, they'll actually cap it. So when the moisture content's low enough, they cap it, and then that's how we know that this honey's ready to be harvested. If you were to harvest this honey like it is, the moisture content would be way too high, and you'd end up with honey that would ferment, and it wouldn't be any good. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there and show you guys something a little different. We rarely talk about that in these videos, but it's kind of important to discuss from time to time. Maybe when we get back on the to the truck, I'll show a deep frame next to a super frame just to show the difference in the two. Okay guys, we're over at Savanna's hive in the new bee yard. Savanna's hive last week was looking really good. Remember hers, we captured a tiny little swarm. And we captured and put in this box, and they actually stayed. So that was a really good capture. Glad we did it. I'm seeing a little bit of hive ant pressure again on this side. So fortunately with my, I have a box that I kind of keep all my supplies in, and I actually brought it with me this week. So we'll be able to add some ground cinnamon here on the back side and see if we can alleviate some of this pressure from these black ants. So jumping on in, just giving them a little smoke. I can see that they're built out on about 4 or 5 frames, mostly towards the south. So we'll start on the north side and pull a frame out and give us a little room to work. So they are starting to fill out these last frames here, so that's good. So it may not be very long. We'll have to add these guys another deep. Really cool considering this all started from a tiny little swarm. Okay, jumping on to the center, I see eggs in the very bottom right corner, and I'm seeing a beautiful pattern, cat brood on both sides. The center has got eggs and younger larvae all the way across the frame. So full frame of bees, good clean. See if I can get you a shot of the eggs here. So here is the pattern looking really good. Cat brood all the way across. You can see in the very small cells there, there's larva, and then down in the bottom right here, let's see, right in there you can see eggs in the very bottom. So that's what we came to see. We got space, eggs, and pest pressure. So on this one we got do a little bit with the ground cinnamon, adding the ground cinnamon. And then we also need to get these guys at deep pretty soon. So it won't be long. They'll be needing that extra room. So we'll come back and take care of that one as well. So let's put this one back together and move on to the next one. Okay, so here's the ground cinnamon I was talking about. So just going to take a little bit of ground cinnamon, and looks like they're coming up from sort of the sides right here. So what I can do is put a little bit of cinnamon over here on the sides, a little bit on top. That'll keep them, that'll keep the ants from climbing up the sides and into the hive. I don't think the bees like it either, but the ants really don't like it. So that kind of helps them out a little bit with the ant pressure. Okay, so this is William's hive. Let's take a look and see how his is doing. It was doing really good last week as well. Oh wow. Tons of ant pressure on the back side of this hive. They were actually falling out as I was opening up the lid. Lots of larvae. So it looks like they're putting their larvae in between the telescopic inner cover and the end of the frame here, hoping that's coming out on camera, but there are ants everywhere. So we'll have to help these guys out as well. The ants over here are usually pretty bad. So some over here on this corner as well. So they are definitely a nuisance to the bees. And we'll see what we can do after our inspection about helping these guys out. So just looking down into the hive, I can see that these 3 frames here are already filled out. So is this one here, a little bit on the 4th one. So we may need to add a super to this hive pretty soon. So I'll come back and add a super on this one, and as well as one in the new bee yard. So let's jump in to the lower deep here and see what our brood nest or brood frames are looking like. Okay, so I'm seeing a little bit of burr comb here on the sides that we can take care of real quickly. Let's take out a frame like we always do and give us a little space to work here. Yeah, so as I remembered, William had brood all the way to the very end here. See a drone in here. See several drones, 3 or 4 drones, capped honey on this back side here. Let's get these bees out of our way and jump back in. I don't know if you guys saw the adjustment that I just made with my smoke, but the wind kind of changed direction on me. You got to be careful, or at least observant with your smoke patterns and seeing what you're doing. So what I changed up was I want the smoke to go across the bees. If you kind of put it directly at them and blow the smoke at them, it kind of aggravates them. So it's just a tip. So the wind direction had changed from the south, and I just changed the way I was deploying my smoke. So I'm seeing lots of capped brood on here, but I'm not really seeing eggs. I'd like to see eggs. So I'm seeing larva. Wow, this frame is absolutely packed with bees. Look at all the bees, the bee coverage there. Pretty awesome. Young larva in the bottom. See the young bees. You see how young that bee right there? See how he looks a little different than the other bees? Or she, I should say. That's because that bee just emerged. Before I put this one up, I just wanted to show a little bit of a difference in how you can tell what is capped brood and what is honey. So you can see how these capped brood here, you can tell how each cell is like individually capped. So you can actually see where the cells are, versus down here in the bottom where it looks more like a mass capping, like everything is kind of capped. So that's how you tell the difference. Sometimes there's not a whole lot of difference in color, as you can see between these two, but you can see how these have individual caps on them versus the honey that a lot of times looks more like a larger cap across the entire area. So just a little bit of information there. All right, let's put these guys back together and we'll go to the next one. All right, so we're on the hive that we checked out last week. I usually don't film these hives. These are our production colonies. So remember we saw some Supersedure cells last week. So I just want to jump in there and see what they're looking like today. Here's our brick indicating that we've got an issue. So those come in pretty handy. It's a handy way to do it. So let's just jump on in and see what these guys are doing. Not seeing any pest pressure, so that's good. Looks like these guys are just barely starting to do anything in this top deep. So let's jump on in, see what they're looking like here. I'll get my smoker going again. All right, let me get on this side. So looking down, I see honey on this frame, capped honey. This frame is not filled out on the back side. Just going to jump on in to where I believe our Supersedure cell was last week. Yep, I see it. All right, so it does not look like it's been opened yet. So let me switch this around and give you a shot of it. I'm not going to turn it upside down because I've heard things about the royal jelly that could be in there, and whenever you turn the queen cell upside down, she could potentially drown. So that's what I've been told. I don't know how accurate that is, but again, this looks like it's pretty close to emerging. So I'm just going to put this one back. As I'm looking through it, I'm not seeing any eggs. So put it back just like it was. The Supersedure cells in several other areas of this colony as well. So put it in very carefully, making sure that I don't hit any of the walls or the other frames. Okay, so we'll put these guys back together and hopefully we'll give them another week and we'll check it out and see if a queen has emerged. Okay guys, that's going to be the end of this week's video. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We checked for our pest pressure. We're about to get run out of here by some thunderstorms. So we checked our pest pressure. We checked to make sure that we had plenty of space for the bees. We did check that Supersedure cell, but it's not quite ready. Maybe next week we'll have some updates on that one. Again, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoy the content. As long as you're enjoying it and it's fun for us, we'll keep making it. Thanks again. See you next week.